So, Peter Rubin of Wired talked to Jim Ryan of PlayStation, the head of PlayStation, and they talked about the future of their company and what the next generation of consoles is going to be like. So we're going to break down the article piece by piece, everything I found interesting, and kind of give my thoughts afterwards. But after this video, please give Peter's article a click because he did all the heavy lifting. Thank you so much, Peter. So first things first, it's in the first paragraph. The thing we learn about the PlayStation 5 is exactly that. It's called the PlayStation 5. And I kind of like how Jim Ryan talks about it because he's just like, listen, you see a pattern here. It was PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. We're not going to trick you by saying PlayStation 6. The name of the console is the PlayStation 5, and it's out holiday 2020 alongside its competition, the Xbox codename Scarlett. So cool. This is something I think we all expected, but it's awesome that now it's confirmed. We know when to start saving up for this thing. The next thing we learned, and then it kind of shifts focus to Mark Cerny, the architect of the PlayStation 5 and also the PlayStation 4, we learned a little bit more about the ray tracing technology of the PlayStation 5. The first time we heard about the PlayStation 5, we heard about ray tracing, and it's all about bouncing light from one object to the other and bouncing sound from one object to the other. It sounds super advanced. It also sounds super expensive. That's because it is. And Cerny wanted to make sure we know that the ray tracing tech is not some type of software thing he found. It is baked into the hardware itself. So we see graphics cards that are out on the market right now with ray tracing capabilities. They're really expensive pieces of tech. So to me, this kind of gives me the warning sign that the PlayStation 5 might be more on the high-end price, like maybe more towards the Xbox One X price tag than the original PlayStation 4. But hey, I'm ready. I'm thinking this thing is going to be somewhere between the $400 to $500 price range. But I want to know what you guys think down below. What do you think the price is going to be, and what do you think the price should be? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, the next thing that they talk about is the hard drive space and the hard drive capabilities, which it's funny because they really want you to know, and it seems like they're already getting the selling point across, that hey, PlayStation 5 is going to be really powerful because of the ray tracing capabilities, and the PlayStation 5 is going to be very fast because of the super solid state drive that's in the console. It seems like they're already getting their talking points down of what they think consumers really want, and it really much is. So let's talk about the hard drive. They want to give you the ability to download parts of games that you're interested in. So they talk about it. Next generation of games are going to be huge. We're talking discs with the space of around 100 gigs per disc, which seems like a lot, but it's going to be probably something of a regular occurrence into the next generation, as we already see games like Call of Duty and games like Red Dead Redemption cross the 100 gig mark. I think this is going to be just the beginning of that, and Sony's prepared by giving you the opportunity or the option of saying, hey, if you bought the latest Call of Duty and it's 100 gigs large, 50% of that is the single player, the other 50 is the multiplayer. You as the player get to choose not what's priority in your download, but you actually choose what you want to actually download. So if you're a single player guy and you only want to play the single player, you have the option of only downloading the single player and not the multiplayer to help save you space, vice versa. So I know so many Call of Duty fans that don't give a crap about the story. They just want the multiplayer. Well, just download the multiplayer, and that helps by saving space on the hard drive. So I think that's cool. I think the fact that they're really trying to push the fact that, hey, next PlayStation, there is no loading screens, gets me really excited. So, and then the next thing on the list, which I'm just gonna gloss over, is there's a new revamped UI, which is like, I figured that. Every time there's a new system, there's a new, prettier UI behind it. So maybe that's gonna have more social features and functionality to it, but whatever. I don't see it, so I can't believe it. So until I see it, I can't really get hyped for it, a new UI. Next though, the thing that does get me really excited is the controller. So first point, the controller itself, from what the author was talking about, was that it looks very similar to the Dualshock 4, at least on the outside, because on the inside of this controller, there are some pretty cool things. So first thing about the controller is something called PlayStation Assist. The author mentions that the speaker on the PlayStation 5 controller, the Dualshock 5, is a lot more prominent. And there is a rumor going around that there's been a trademark filing for a system called PlayStation Assist, which if you're, for example, stuck in a game, you press that button on the controller and the controller will tell you what to do next. So if you're stuck on a puzzle, the controller will help you solve that puzzle so you can get through that game. Now, if that sounds familiar, that's because it's called Google Assist in Google Stadia. They announced that alongside the Stadia reveal that, hey, if you're stuck in a game, Google will pull out a search of the top 5 things searched to help you figure out whatever you're stuck in a game, so you're not all of a sudden back on your phone or on your computer trying to figure out a puzzle. So it's cool that PlayStation is doing it as well. I want to see if it's baked into the gameplay though. If they're not pulling out a Google search, but actually like a little feed pops up and going, hey, it's the puzzle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you dumb idiot, and you get to progress that way. It would be cool if there's in-game integration with the assist feature. Now, with that, let's talk about the haptic feedback in the controller. From what I read, the next iteration of Rumble. So if you go haptic feedback, now Joe, that sounds familiar too. Think back, way back when, in the dark times with the Steam controller. Remember that owl looking thing? Well, that had haptic feedback to give you the illusion that you were pressing buttons and moving analog sticks when you were just moving around the pad with your thumbs. This iteration of haptic feedback in the PlayStation 5 controller will give you feedback like if you're pressing the trigger to shoot a bow and arrow, it'll actually give you the tension and the torque like you're pulling back a string of a bow. If you're shooting a shotgun, it's going to feel like you're shooting a shotgun or a machine gun. It is actual HD rumble that works, and that gets me really excited. Let's just say if you're in a desert, the controller will start kind of having the shifting of the sand that moves everywhere, right?
I don't like sand.
That's really cool, and to me that gets me excited if it works well, but it could be a very annoying feature if it doesn't work well, like HD Rumble in the Nintendo Switch, where they were like, oh yeah, when you move the Joy-Con, it's gonna actually feel like ice, and what it really just feels like is just a bunch of shaking shit in your Joy-Con. So to me, if the haptic feedback works, that's a huge feature for the controller. And overall, there's going to be a bigger battery, haptic feedback, and this PlayStation Assist, and I'm excited for it. I just hope that they build on the PlayStation Share button, because to me, that share button is the coolest feature in the PlayStation 4 and just in consoles in general. It's awesome. So the last 2 things on the list are actually kind of small, but pretty cool. So Bluepoint, they are the people that did the remasters of the Nathan Drake collection and the total remake of Shadow of Colossus. They say that they're working on something at the moment for the PlayStation 5. So we can assume it's going to be a launch title for the PlayStation 5, and we can also assume that it's Demon's Souls, because that game has been rumored to be in the remaking process for literally years now. So I think it's time. I think they need another Soulsborne-like game in their repertoire, and I think Demon's Souls absolutely makes sense. It's a cult classic. Please just give me what I want.
You know what I want. I've been asking for it for years.
And last but not leastly, you know that weird thing we were looking at a few weeks back? That is actually the PlayStation 5. Not how it's going to actually look like when it releases, but that is the dev kit that is the PlayStation 5. That's what devs are using for the creation of PlayStation 5 games. So overall, with this list, I didn't break anything. I'm actually not sure. Anyway, with that said, and with my list thrown, what are my thoughts on the PlayStation 5, at least right now? Well, I gotta say, what Jim Ryan and company are saying, It's getting me really excited. I want to see what ray tracing looks like. I want to see how games run without loading screens. I want the ability of choosing what I want to download on my PlayStation 5. It's really cool. We're starting to see there is a difference between PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox in Stadia, right? Like, Stadia is this cloud thing that we're still so unsure about, right? Xbox is Game Pass and being able to play everywhere, and PlayStation is more of the same, but just better and faster. And so I like that all three companies, all three major players at this point, are doing something a little bit different. And I know a lot of people are worried because there's a lot of internal shakeups at the moment in PlayStation, right? We're seeing some execs leave to bigger and better pastures, and some of them, like Sean Layden, just being ghosted. We don't know where Sean went. He's just gone, but he's somewhere. He's in our hearts. I know that for sure. And we're seeing PlayStation do awesome things though, right? Even with all these departures, we're seeing them bend the knee to gamers and allowing crossplay. After Call of Duty's launch, all games will have the ability to have crossplay in it. That's awesome. We're seeing PlayStation listen to gamers and give us what we want. We're seeing them take a look at their services like PlayStation Now and going, yeah, that is too expensive. Yes, we should focus on it and drop the price in half. We're seeing Sony just put the ear to the ground, seeing what they want. And Jim Ryan said it best in another article, in another interview. I'll put the link down below, but he's just like, we have to avoid complacency, and I will thrust my power wherever need be to avoid that, because the next time around, usually the number one dog usually falls off the cliff somewhere. So we have to stay agile, and that's what PlayStation has to do to stay competitive. And so from what I'm hearing, this is what I want more out of PlayStation. I'm really excited for the next generation. This is coming from me. You can look at the background and go, oh, you're just Sony pony. But this is coming from a guy who will buy, Scarlett at day one, who will try out Stadia and give it a shot. I just love video games. I just love tech. So if you guys are excited or not excited, let me know your thoughts on this whole thing down below. Are you excited for the PlayStation 5? What are you kind of worried about? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's talk about it, because here at Bad Big Games, that's what it's all about. It's about the conversation. So if you like news like these, reviews, a podcast called The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players each and every Thursday, then please hit like, share, subscribe. It helps me out, builds and grows this big happy family that I call home, because here at Bad Big Games, that's what it's all about. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, everybody, keep your wits about you, and have a nice one.